council meeting, Monday, January 11th, 2021 at 6 p.m. To start the meeting tonight, I'd like Chief McDade to say a few words, please.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'd like to ask if we could all take a moment of silence for the 5 people who lost their lives at the Capitol.
Council meeting, Monday, January 11th, 2021 at 6 p.m. To start the meeting tonight, I'd like Chief McDade to say a few words, please.
Yes, good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell.
Here.
Jerry Quirian.
Yeah.
Jeff West.
Here.
Lee Trahan.
Here.
Peter Drapo.
Here.
Joseph Gravel.
Here.
And Ray Karen.
Here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could everybody stand, or we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anything but America.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings, December 14th and January 4th, please.
Hey, Ray. Hey, Ray. You're echoing because there's two of you there. Somebody's going to have shut off that thing.
We really got a big echo. Oh, just a second.
I can't hear a thing. I want to just
Turn yours off.
go.
How's that?
Peter,
Is that any better for the echo?
Much better.
Okay, good enough. Moving on.
Just quickly, was it Ben was the first on the motion?
Yep, Ben was the first on the motion and Rocky seconded.
Thank you. And ready for roll call?
Yep.
Ben Twitchell.
yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan. Peter Drapo.
Here.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Here.
Thank you.
And under the communications, planning board appointments, we have 2 appointments. Gary Owens to reappoint as a member of the planning board, and Stephen Gagnon as appointed as an alternate.
So moved.
We'll go with Gary Owen first for appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Lisa, could we have a roll call on Gary Owens, please?
Yes. Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Second appointment, Gary Owens as an alternate to the planning board.
Second.
We'll have Ben as a first and Rocky as a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Roll call is Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Peter Drapo. Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Appointment passes 7-0.
Congratulations to everyone on the planning board. Thank you very much for serving on the boards and in the alternate also. Updated roster of boards and communication. This is for just information only that Lisa has updated all the rosters on the town website. Anything else you want to add, Lisa?
There may be a couple of vacancies that I will be advertising in the next week or so, just to kind of fill those gaps, but everything else looks good.
Yeah, when I looked at it, Lisa, what were those vacancies? Do you remember
Not off the top of my head, I don't, but I know that there's probably 3 or 4 sitting there, and some haven't been filled for quite some time.
I know there was one on the school board.
Yes.
There was one, the one that I noticed was on the school board for, I believe,
Yes.
District 3.
Yep, and I spoke with the school about that, and they are still looking actively to find somebody to fill that, that seat.
So if anybody's interested in that school board district 3,
It is
please
3.
contact the school superintendent's office at the school
Yep.
department. That'd be great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. The introduced presentation, KRD First Park presentation. Do we have a presenter, Erica, for that?
Yes, that's going to be Suzanne Lee and Jim Dinkle. I'm sorry. That's going to be Jim Dinkle from First Park. I just got my 2 programs mixed up. I'm sorry, Jim. Please feel free to proceed. You're still muted, Jim.
I have Steve Monselik, who's the president of our General Assembly. Steve is from Reedfield and is one of the founders of KRDA over 20 years ago. And I believe our treasurer, James Jerdak from Oakland, may be joining us shortly. He's a snowbird in Florida, so.
I'm here.
Oh, you are here? Okay. I just don't see you. First of all, thank you, Erica. Welcome. I haven't met you in person. I know we've had some contact, so I look forward to meeting you in person soon. I want to give you just a couple minutes, maybe a brief annual report, if you will, about First Park, and then I want Steve and JJ to talk more about the financials and the future of the organization. To begin with, 2020, despite the pandemic, was a good year for First Park and KRDA. There were $13,285,090 in sales and resales within First Park. Those were not all First Park owned properties, but they were existing buildings that had greatly appreciated in value and were sold during the last calendar year, such as the T-Mobile building at 133 First Park Drive, the office building that we're officed in at 46 First Park Drive, which is the home of One River CPA, some of you may be familiar with. It sold in November as well. So there's been a lot of good appreciation and value within the park. For the first time in the 20-year plus history of the park, a lot on Technology Drive off of First Park Drive has sold. That's lot number 4. We are scheduled to close on or before January 29th with the buyer of that property. That's from outside the KRDA service area, the business that's locating there and putting up a new structure. So the good news is, again, as the values appreciate, then we should at some point in the next couple of years see a better return on property taxes from those buildings and those lots. So we had $13,285,090 in sales this past calendar year. That translates to 107,000 square feet of office space in the park that turned over, if you will, during the year as well. We listed First Park with a commercial broker. We went through a request for proposals from brokers. We chose SVN Commercial Real Estate from Portland. They're licensed in Maine, and then they have an associate contract with their office in Chicago to help sell and market the park as well. So we're getting a lot of good leads since we signed that contract in September with SVN. The asking price per acre is a flat $15,000. So if you come to us and you're interested in a site that faces I-95, for example, the price is $15,000 per acre. So if you want to be back deeper in the park, such as on Technology Drive, it's still $15,000 an acre. That's the asking price. The likelihood of Summit Natural Gas running natural gas into the park has greatly increased recently. And by this summer, that may become a new marketing opportunity for us to sell the park as being served with natural gas, which tends to be a lot less expensive. Dr. O'Keefe, many of you may know her as a dentist in Waterville, is building a new practice. She bought lot 15A on First Park Drive in a private sale 2 years ago. and they are beginning excavation on that building, yes, even in January. And so she will be moving into her new practice in a 5,000 to 6,000 square foot building by midsummer, she hopes. We've been very pleased with our marketing and communications. It's resulted in numerous, if you read Main Biz, numerous articles in Main Biz, in the Sentinel, the Kennebec Valley Journal, as well as on TV as well. So that helps drive calls, it drives traffic to our website. And again, we feel like that our marketing campaign is really paying big dividends when you see the numbers per month of hits that we're getting on our website or our Facebook page or our YouTube page. JJ will be talking in a few moments about financials. We've not only had really good audits, because our audits come back with no findings, but we've also kind of looked internally and audited ourselves in terms of looking at costs and minimizing our costs as best we can. And we've looked at some costs, we've reduced our costs, not that they were that exorbitant to begin with, but where we could trim some fat, we certainly have the past year. One of the things that we're looking at, for example, has been the cost of our information technology. We're a small office, but again, we're still very data driven in our office, and we're studying the costs of that right now as well, with a recommendation that I'll bring to our executive board this month or in March. I hope as many of you as possible see our bi-monthly newsletter. We sent one out in December around the holidays. Erica, if you receive those, if you would forward that on to the council members and others with interest. We put a lot of work into that. There's a lot of good information in that every couple of months, and we want you, to read that. And if you have questions and comments, to give us that feedback. At this point, I'll turn the floor over to Steve. I've given you kind of a brief rundown of the past year, being conscious of your time. So Steve Monslick is again, president of our General Assembly. Steve, you're on mute, so you'll need to turn that off.
I think I've done that. Can you hear me? I wanted to start primarily with how we are developing the budget, our own budget for the coming year. And I know that that's a major concern to most of the towns. We have an executive board, which is made up of the officers and 4 at-large members of the organization. And we have a General Assembly, which includes members from each community. The executive boards meet at least monthly, and the General Assembly generally meets 4 times per year. We have an executive board meeting on January 28th. And at that meeting, hopefully, the executive board is going to approve a budget that will be passed on to the, recommended to the General Assembly, which will meet on February 18th, at which time a vote will be taken to see if the General Assembly approves that budget. If that is done and it is approved, then on March 18th, there will be a public meeting where any member of the communities can vote yay or nay on the proposed budget. So that's the immediate time frame for this year's budget. I will tell you that because we have paid paid our final bond payment The executive board has been working on this current budget for pretty close to a year. And we knew that there would be a great many changes, changes because of the lack of the bond payment. Hopefully it would result in savings to the various member towns. I can't go into specifics at this point in time, but I can tell you that we have worked since, I believe it was last January when we had our first meeting that we discussed this, to create a budget that is revenue neutral to the all 24 communities. By that, by revenue neutral, I mean there will still be very likely a request for assessments to each town, but assuming that it is passed, as we have been discussing, an amount equal to the assessments will be refunded to the town in the same fiscal year. That is our goal, and all of our discussions up to this point have revolved around that idea, and we have spent a great deal of time on it, and I think it is something that is very doable. Having said that, I cannot say that that's going to be a fact until all the votes are taken. A number of towns have asked, because of their budget process, you know, what our outlook is. I tell them, I think as a worst case scenario, if they carried the figures on next year's budget that they carried on this year's budget, they would be safe, and hopefully they will be surprised on the positive side with the returns that are given to the town as our fiscal year proceeds. We will have at the end of that January 28th meeting a budget that we are going to forward to the General Assembly. So at that point in time, there will be specific figures available. Again, it's not guaranteed that those are the figures that will be approved, but that's how the process has worked for the last 20 years. So that information will be available at that time or shortly after January 28th, so that it would help towns who are working on their own budgets. And that, I think, unless you have questions of me, is all I have to say at the moment.
Does anybody have any questions?
I think JJ is on the line. He's our treasurer. He may have some comments as well.
No problem. Yep.
JJ?
Good evening, everyone. As Steve pointed out, for the last 20 years, the budget process he's outlined has been followed at KRDA. And historically, we have assessed more than we've reimbursed back to the towns. The reimbursement has primarily been the real estate taxes that are collected within the park by the town of Oakland, which is the home municipal. Those taxes that the town receives through usually around April 30th to May 15th are reimbursed back to Kennebec Regional Development Authority. We then calculate the distribution of those funds and reimburse back to each member community a share based upon the formula that is documented in our enabling legislation and our bylaws. The last 3 years, we have averaged around 60% being reimbursed back to the towns. In other words, if a town pays us $10,000, we have reimbursed between $6,000 and $6,500 for the last 3 years running. For fiscal 22, we are hoping to propose a budget to the executive board this coming month. That budget will be proposed to the General Assembly in February. And as Steve has pointed out the calendar, that will be voted on in March. Historically, again, the budget that the executive board has prepared and presented to the General Assembly with very minor modifications some year has been enacted. The past doesn't always predict correctly the future, but based on our past, I will say that I feel confident that the budget we present, which will show that we will assess the 24 members, and during the fiscal year, we are hopeful that come May, depending upon the receipt of those real estate tax revenues by the town of Oakland, we will reimburse back to the towns 100% of what they were assessed from July 1 through to and including June 30th. That won't be guaranteed until two things occur. One, the General Assembly in March votes to approve that budget. And secondly, that those tax revenues are collected by the town of Oakland. Again, historically, we have collected, except for 1 year, the town of Oakland has collected 100% of the taxes assessed before the fiscal year has ended. The 1 year exception, I believe there was like $25,000 or $30,000 that came in July, and we did a separate distribution. So 19 out of the 20 years, we have received from town of Oakland 100% of the tax revenues collected. Historically, our budget for real estate tax revenues has rarely been over the actual. It's generally been between 3 and 5% under the actual amount collected. So based upon those factors, I have a high degree of confidence that should that budget be approved in March, each municipal will receive back what it paid for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. We have paid off all of our debt as of November the 1st, which is this current fiscal year. We have no outstanding debt of any nature. We have also, in June, made our last payment to T-Mobile under a TIF agreement that began when T-Mobile moved into the park. That TIF is no longer being paid. So those funds are no longer needed to be budgeted, and they were around $310,000 or so between the two of them. So those funds we will not have to cover anymore. If there are any questions, comments, I'll do my best to try to answer them. And if I can't, Steve and Jim are here to also assist.
No, the only thing I could add is two positives is, of course, one is the bond payment and the added infrastructure to the facility. And that, you know, potentially in 2022 that, you know, we'll be getting 100% of what the, you know, what our investment is, which is a very positive. You know that this is being recorded for posterity, so we're going to hold you to, yeah. I know you said you couldn't guarantee it, but we'll hold you to it anyway. You know what I mean? We'll forget that guaranteed part. But thank you very much for the presentation. Erica, you got anything to add?
No, it's just nice to put some faces with the names, and I appreciate the update. So as you mentioned, a lot of us are in our budget preparation, and every little bit of information helps. So thank you guys for taking the time to attend tonight.
Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us, yes.
Thank you very much. That was great presentation. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
And then moving on, KV Cog, Winslow Consolidated Food Waste Collection Pilot Opportunity.
Yes, this time it really is Suzanne Lee. I'm not kidding this time. Suzanne is working on the behalf of UMA's Mitchell Center in combination with KV Cog, Gabe Govin, and some others that we have joining us tonight. We have been talking, Paul and I have been talking to her about the possibility of a food waste pilot. This is separate and distinct from what's being done at the schools. This would be a pilot program for the town as a municipality. There is an actual contract in place already for the schools. So with that, I'm going to let Suzanne take over and give us the presentation and take it from there. And there'll be questions at the end.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Eric and Paul. It's been great working with you. And there is a team tonight, like I said, from the Mitchell Center at the University of Maine, and Travis Blackmore, who is also from the University of Maine. Mark King. The pilot project is actually between KV Cog, the Mitchell Center at UMaine, and also Maine DEP. So Mark King is here tonight from the Maine DEP. We also have Gabe. I don't see you, but I believe Gabe from KV Cog is there.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was on my computer a moment ago, and then my internet cut out. So now I'm on my phone, but I am back and I'm here. But yeah, we're super excited about this program. It's the brainchild, really, of the Mitchell Center and Suzanne and all the work they've been doing. They brought me in to help identify some towns that would be great candidates and get it going in our region. But yeah, I'll let Suzanne do most of the talking here.
Thank you. Well, and then just to introduce the last two, we have the Mitchell Center has student interns. So Dominique DeSpirito is working also on this project with us. And we also are very fortunate to have a Winslow town resident, Hannah Creighton, who is also an intern on the project. So, but you're one of your very own. So it's been terrific. So I'm going to try this sharing screen since it's the easiest way to go through the presentation. Let's see. Can everybody see that? Eric, is that working?
It says you've started your screen sharing. There you are. You're up.
Okay, so just to sort of guide the conversation, this is well, let me just take you through. This is a presentation for Winslow about a consolidated food waste collection pilot opportunity. The next slide. Okay, so what we want to talk to you about tonight is food waste as a problem that's facing Maine, and the Mitchell Center is at the University of Maine. It's a research center that's really being utilized to solve problems for Maine. So we bring together faculty and students to look at major issues for the state and try to resolve them. So we'll talk to you about the food waste problem. We'll talk to you about food waste recycling and some of the benefits, and then the specific proposed pilot for Winslow, some of the benefits, and then the opportunity with timing and next steps. So for those of you who are not aware, food waste is a tremendous problem in that about 40% of food that is produced, so again, food that's produced is never actually eaten. So it sort of goes, it's produced and then ends up in the waste stream. It's the equivalent to having $10, getting $10 every day and throwing 4 of them into the trash. We not only waste the food waste costs, but it's also the resources. So the water and the energy and things that go into making that food. At the same time, perhaps you've seen this on the news where we see, people waiting in the line at the food banks while milk is being poured down the drain. So Maine has this same problem. We have the 12th highest rate of food insecurity in the country, and yet we are still wasting 40% of our food here. Landfilling food waste, which is the current practice, so just putting food waste into the trash, causes also it causes additional water problems and climate issues. Here in Maine, 30% of our solid waste stream is currently food waste, and we know that we need to do something about it. And we have developed this, we've researched and found that consolidated food waste recycling is a triple bottom line solution in that it's got financial benefits for the communities that participate, social and natural resource benefits. And again, Mark King is here tonight. Maine DEP has been a tremendous partner in identifying this opportunity. So. In terms of food waste recycling benefits, and what we'll talk to you about tonight is the opportunity to save money. We know that right now with the pandemic and everything going on, it's a really good time to look for new ways of doing things that can return money to the town, and food waste recycling is one of those. Not only does it return money, but it promotes new revenue streams, so new business opportunities in composting and upcycling food. So it's a tremendous financial opportunity for communities. In addition, there's the social benefits. We have found, and the research shows that in communities that are doing food waste recycling or food recycling, the food donation levels increase, which actually saves the pantries money and it reduces hunger. We also have seen communities that are doing food recycling strengthen their community by working together on a very positive project. And it additionally just improves the quality of life for a community. I mean, the community knows that you're more effectively using your resources. You're not wasting food, you're feeding people, and you're saving the town money. And then finally, it's got natural resource benefits. Food waste in the landfill jeopardizes your water quality through leachate, and it also helps on the positive side. Ending food waste builds your agriculture, your local agriculture, and renewable energy resources here in Maine, and it reduces the emissions damage from greenhouse gases. So this is what we talk about with the triple bottom line. Just to let you know, in terms of putting together a proposed pilot for Winslow, we did look at, as Gabe said, we worked with KVCOG to identify particular communities that we felt were right for this type of opportunity. We looked at the census data, in terms of the composition of the town. We were looking for regional clusters, and then working with Erica and Paul, we had your town complete a profile municipal solid waste questionnaire. So we got some details about what you're currently doing so that we made sure we could save you money and present you with a good opportunity. So the pilot that we're talking about, when we say pilot, we're talking about a year-long program that we will be working with you to track and to measure and to support. We don't have all the details because we wanted to discuss those with you, but we do have potential collection sites for food recycling. One opportunity is to work with iRecycle, which is already your recycling partner located in Waterville, or Winslow Municipal Building Complex. There's an opportunity to potentially use that as a food recycling collection site. What it would consist of, the setup is 2 green recycling bins, some signage. We want a controlled access location. We want to manage this so that we don't cause any problems for the town. It's a very neat and orderly sort of process. We've identified a proposed hauler for you. One of the things that makes it a great opportunity and a cost savings potential for Winslow is that you are on routes that are serviced by AgriCycle, who picks up throughout the state for Hannaford. So because you're on a good location, we can get you a very good cost, and the cost for the pickup is less than you're currently paying for your other waste hauling. We also would be able to provide you with a consumer food waste education campaign, which means that we would inform your residents about all the benefits of this food waste recycling or food recycling on an ongoing basis. So we're not just going to be there with you for the beginning of this, we would be with you for the whole program. And then including tracking. So we will be able to prove to you through monthly tracking, we would be looking at the levels of food waste diversion, household participation, costs, of course, and then with some analysis to show you, again, sort of to prove the benefits of the program. just to show you some of the elements. So we're talking about, when we talk about bins for the food recycling, this is what the bins look like. This is what the signage, using pictures to show people. Basically, if it grows, it goes. It really just is food collection. We would be working on a tracking system to make sure that we are delivering what we say we will deliver in terms of food diversion, potential cost savings, increasing donation activity locally, and making sure that every month we're doing something in terms of consumer education. And so with all of that, this pilot program is projected to, at 15% household participation, we call it break even, but basically you would start to save about $353. As you raise the participation rate of households, 25%, 50%, that's the annual cost savings, $1,200, $3,500 that you would be experiencing by diverting your food waste into its own recycling effort. And then just at the bottom are some assumptions. Let's see, I'll just go quickly through the rest. Some of the additional pilot benefits. We know that you have the St. John's Pantry and Winslow covered, and we would be working with them to direct. In our communication campaign, we're talking to people about recycling food, but first choice would be actually for them to donate food to your pantry and to the Winslow cupboard, which is really the most cost-effective way to process food and to recycle food. We also know that you will be able to avoid greenhouse gas emission damage, and some of the estimates for the social benefit of that is about $6,500. The cost of greenhouse gases emitted by food waste are a real problem in terms of health of the community. And so this is kind of estimated as a social benefit. We are bringing you with KVCOG this specific pilot. It's an opportunity that exists right now because we are working with the DEP, first of all, trying to get a grant program support and resources. The Mitchell Center, both in terms of personnel and in terms of the communication campaign, would be here to provide that support to you. And KVCOG is also supporting this effort and would be working with you throughout the year to make sure this program is a success. And finally, the opportunity is to promote Winslow as a leader in food resource management. So, I guess maybe I should, why don't I stop here sort of in the pilot benefits? Oh, sorry. What? I'm skipping, where is it? There we go. So maybe we'll just stop on this one for a minute and see if you have any questions about the benefits of the program before we close out. So do we have any questions or?
Yeah, thank you very much, Susan. This is Ray Karen. So the program would be, looks like it's a household program.
Yeah, resident.
I know we have a school, we have an oil recycle program right now with the school system. And what I'm asking now is, how would the education of the public go with the program?
It's actually a perfect opportunity. If you're doing something with the school, we actually have materials that we're developing. Actually, Hannah is working on K through 5 education efforts, so something specifically for children. But we have a comprehensive campaign of teaching about food waste that can go into the schools as well as through your website, through all your social media channels. I don't know if that's the kind of thing you're asking, but the plan is to communicate.
Yeah, it would seem to me that to start small, to start in a controlled setting would be maybe to start with the schools, because we have an oil recycling program there. And you have that, maybe not at the current time, but in the future, you have such a mass of people that are eating at a certain amount of time, producing the waste in a small area that would be advantageous for collection.
Well, definitely the schools do, when it's not COVID, produce a great amount of food waste. That's true. But the residential stream of food waste is also substantial, which is why just by diverting 15% of your household waste, you're able to save money on your municipal waste costs of $353 and then $1,200 or $3,500 depending. So, so I don't know, Travis, if you want to speak to the difference between looking at the school side or Mark and looking at the residential waste stream.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So my name's Travis Blackmer with the University of Maine School of Economics, and I actually got my toes wet in waste. Have you ever seen the old DEP reports about the waste composition in Maine? When I was 20, I went around and sorted 20,000 pounds of trash across 17 transfer stations in Maine. So it was all residential baggable waste. And so somewhere between 15 and 30% based on the town's characteristics, there are different types of programs they have, is food. And so when we're talking about the town of Winslow generating somewhere in the 2,500 to 3,000 tons of municipal solid waste a year that you're paying $65 a ton to dispose of, we're talking somewhere between 300 and 600 tons of food waste that's being generated at the household level. So when it comes to these cost savings, we're talking about if we can pull out a quarter of that, 100 tons a year, that's an immediate $6,500 not going to, I believe you guys were in Norwalk, not going to Crossroads landfill. And the cost of that for extra energy is somewhere in the neighborhood of, if you divert about 100 tons of food waste, in the neighborhood of like $5,500. So you're essentially having a net savings of about $1,000 at that level. So it's not the mass that's produced at the household. There's a lot, but it's that how many households there are, all producing a fair amount on a per year basis. There are different estimates of, is it 200 something pounds, 0.3 to 0.8 pounds per person per day generated at household waste level. So it does accumulate it up over the course of all of your households over across all the years. So this pilot is aimed at, can we find centralized locations such as a transfer station, a public works building, a place where people are already going to recycle, where this can become a part of their routine. And that's what our education campaign is, to try and convince people, this can become a functional and effective part of your weekly behavior for, when you're driving to the Walmart in Waterville to stop at iRecycle and drop off your food waste, or when you're on your way to pick up your kids at school, drop off your food waste at the town public works station. Into these kind of clean, really hygienic, they're very durable, sturdy toters. They open, close, very seal tight. It's not like an open pile. They tend to be, really well managed, and also the gated part and the monitor part, something Suzanne was talking about, is the idea is not to create a hassle and fuss. We're here to make this pilot program really effective. And if you guys have issues, that's not a way to make this program promote. So we're going to be working to try and make this a year-long, very successful and effective program, to not have these little issues that, maybe some people get scared about food waste. But if you go with a company like Exeter, it's Extra AgriCycle, it's a really hygienic process.
It's just rare that there's an opportunity to both save money for the community, to actually find a better process to actually strengthen the state by turning the food waste into compost or biogas or renewable resource. It hits all 3 points. It promotes feeding of people instead of food insecurity, all just by diverting food to where it properly belongs. Food has value even at the end of its life. It doesn't belong in the waste stream where it's actually creating, pollutants and hazardous conditions. So, how, to be able to save money at the same time as doing the right thing for the community is a really, we believe, it's an exciting opportunity, and we would like to bring that to Winslow.
Yep. After we collect the waste, what's the end use of the food waste? Is it some type of biofuel or?
Well, it's there. You have some options. So what we have identified for you and based the costs on is AgriCycle, and their end product is actually a combination of biogas, so a renewable energy resource for the state, but they also do some composting as well at their facility. So, but we have left it open to towns. If there's some desire to look at composting more locally, we could look at that, but we've costed it out and made it an economic opportunity. We're working with AgriCycle.
So this is Mark King, Maine DEP. AgriCycle up in Exeter actually has what's called a zero waste controlled loop system. So all the food that goes in there is converted to gas for energy, for electricity, and then all the digestate that comes out, one liquid fraction of it goes to their fields for growing corn and hay for their cows. They have 2,000 head cows. And then the rest of it, the solid portion, is put through a screw press and it's made into animal bedding that goes directly under the cows. So they basically utilize every single thing they make. The one thing that I talk to towns about is that system, all your nutrients go to them and you never see them again. Whereas if you have a compost operation nearby, that material may then come to your town and be used in the soil. So one of the things I'm challenging Exeter Agri-Energy to do this year is to start generating compost back to the towns that are part of their program.
How many towns currently do have a household food recycling program in their municipality?
That's a really great question. I could get you the number if I went back to the office, but I can tell you that the majority of them are located in southern Maine. And my job this year is to promote the food collection statewide. And I'm starting with central Maine, and then I'm going to expand to western Maine, to eastern Maine, and then I'm going to hit the county. So our idea is that these resources need to be available for everybody in the state, not just the southern portion that has the most people. So the way that we make these available for you guys is to create routes that are sort of like a milk run for these companies so that they're willing to come and take your product because they can get enough density by going to multiple towns. So what we hope to do is to get you involved and then reach out to your neighboring towns, try to bring back that spirit of communities working together towards a common problem, like we used to do in the olden days before everybody became an island unto themselves.
My daughter lives in Kennebunk, and they put a bucket under the sink and they put it out once a week, and somebody comes around and picks it up, and then every so often they'll get a bucket of compost.
Yes.
Because I like the idea of your program, but what happens to the poor, the senior citizens, which we have a lot of, as far as getting the food waste out to where it needs to go?
Okay, well, the first thing that we need to talk about is that this is not a curbside collection process. What this will be is containers located in a dedicated area. For example, either at a public works building or the transfer station. I understand you guys have 2 locations that may be suitable. So they would have a little 5-gallon pail that they would put their food scraps in, and then when they drove into town, they would drive by the containers and dump them off and take the bucket home, wash it out, and refill it. So the idea is that it gets the community involved in solving its own problem.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in on that, we've got this question, and in those programs like in Kennebunk, they're really great. They're simpler, but households in those types of programs, they're in really dense areas, and the households themselves are paying between $9 and $15 for that service per month. This type of service for the town, if you start with like a 2-toter setup, and the hope is to grow that to the point where you're overflowing those toters and we need to get you more. The 2-toter model is, I think, less than $80 a month.
Correct.
So essentially, one household paying $15 a month to have their 5-gallon bucket picked up versus your entire community, somewhere in the $80 range, start out with those 2 toters. That would be the 10 to 15% participation range. So essentially, it's a extremely low cost on a per person or per use basis relative to those hyper convenient but very expensive at the household level. We're not going there, and we don't know if service providers would want that, but there is an example of, in Rockland, Maine, there is a business that formed to go pick up household food scraps from, for instance, people that might not be able to get to the local transfer station, or just people that want the convenience factor. So one added layer of this is that this might actually help form a local business of someone that goes around and collects, makes a for-fee service to collect the food scraps from the people that don't want to have the onus on them to drop it off at the centralized site.
The biggest key of this whole thing that we're talking about tonight is that we're not just asking you to become part of a program and then we walk away. All of us are committed to helping you. My job with the state is to make sure you're successful. So if you decide to do this program as you go, if problems ensue or there's educational necessity, all you got to do is call me and I will come and help with that. So I'm trying to create this infrastructure throughout the state of Maine and grow it, and success grows more success. So I have a huge stake in making sure it's successful for you.
I have a question. If I may.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead, please.
All right, Mark, Lee Trahan. Question I had was, you explained how it works in Southern Maine, and someone touched on the fact that they have the individual collection on curbside, where this is not a curbside collection, and you're going to have two or four containers strategically located. My question is, for the average resident, how do you go about distributing the pails that they use, and will there be a cost to the residents for these pails? And are these designated pails that come from the organization or come from the company, or does the resident get to use their own type of pail?
Okay, all great questions. Number one, the resident gets to use their own type of pail. And the program is done through education. And the biggest key to all of what you're asking is that we need to provide as much education possible before we initiate the program. I want this to be almost like muscle memory for people. So if we have a home that has 2 senior citizens in it, they tend to be the ones that pay attention. They come to town meetings, they read educational material. So they want to do it right. We want to make sure their first experience is their best experience. So we will have everything planned out to a T, and they will then be word of mouth, and word of mouth is how this program should spread. Now, I do know that, for example, you guys are going to Norwalk to Waste Management with your waste. So I'm going to reach out to Waste Management to try and get some sponsorship on some of these buckets so that we'll have some to give, but it shouldn't cost the person to purchase one unless they want to have their own specific type of bucket. The biggest key is they've got to have a tight fitting lid so they don't smell, they don't attract animals, and someone can feel comfortable leaving them on the back porch until it's time to go into town and dump them into the toter. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And I'll just jump in here as the environmental planner for Winslow from KVCOG. My role in this is the education side and making sure you guys are operating and consistent and sustainable. Mark is a busy guy. He's one guy for the whole state. I'm one guy for the Kennebec Valley. So I'm a little more accessible and I have a little more bandwidth. So, looking to provide potentially some sort of buckets or materials for collection or under your sink or receptacles like that is something that KVCOG is looking to be able to provide along with this program. So we are here every step of the way to provide education and to make sure that we get the best and highest participation, and then we keep it that way and we keep building on it.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I wouldn't even begin to bring this to you if I didn't believe you guys would be very successful. And that's really the key.
Yeah, what we have in place right now is we actually have a recycling committee in place. And, I'll need to talk to Erica, will have to be involved, but that might be a format to where you guys can work with the town of Winslow through this recycle committee for educational, and we could form a team that would be maybe essential for that type of program to be here in Winslow. Erica, what's your feelings on that?
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Ray, because Paul and I have kind of been operating as an island on this so far. We've brought up a bunch of ideas about involving other departments and talked about trying to get some school participation, but the schools are kind of already overtasked right now. So I think the recycling committee is a great way to go through that and hopefully get some additional help and input about how we make this work in our town. I think it's a great opportunity, but I think it is going to take some, I think it's going to be a bit of a lift to get participation unless we get some champions that are not just us on the town side, if that makes sense.
I think that committee was a very, very good committee. I served on the committee. We looked at a lot of options and became, you know, what I would consider knowledgeable about the recycle situation in the state of Maine. And I think that committee would be, we get it back together again, and then we work through that committee to try to implement this program in the town of Winslow.
I think actually, Ray, it's a perfect idea that you brought up, because I was just going to say about the education piece. We talk about it as food recycling, and you see that one of the locations we talked about is, you know, attaching it to the iRecycle program already, because it's the same kind of concept that you get used to putting your cardboard, you get used to putting your plastics, you know, that there's a better use to them. And your food collection could be just along the same lines, that, you know, when you're making the stop to drop off these other things, you can put your food as well. So whatever the recycling committee has learned about your community and that practice would be the perfect partner in this.
During the 2 years we were a pretty active committee, a lot of people came forward to us with wanting a food waste program. So I think there's a lot of people in the town that would be open to it. And I think through the recycling committee, that would be a great way to organize it and get it going with everybody. Anybody have anything else with regards to the food program right now?
If I may add really quickly, I'm also on this Mitchell intern team. And part of what I work on is food donations. So that is part of this idea of recycling food waste. Is part of it is the AgriCycle business, but the other part is increasing food donations for the town's food pantries. And a lot of times people don't donate from their household because they don't exactly know what they can donate or what's accepted at the food banks. And the truth is that they really need the food, especially during times of COVID. And I know that we're not Augusta, but I saw a newspaper article like a few weeks ago that the Augusta Food Bank normally services 300 families per weekend. And a few weeks ago, right before Christmas, they were servicing 1,200 cars lined outside the food bank. So they need it now more than ever. And I talked to the St. John's Food Pantry actually, and they're over the moon about this program, hoping that it'll increase food donations, of course. And I talked to them about even what they accept. And the only thing they've said that they will not accept is prepared food at home. So if you make jams that you jar in the winter, anything like that, they can't accept that. But they do accept milk, they accept bread, they accept canned goods, they accept fresh produce that's going to spoil that you won't use. They accept eggs, butter, the whole works too. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that it's a good opportunity to help the hungry in our own community as well.
Yeah, I think when I'll talk to Erica in the next couple of days, we'll crank up that recycle, see who's interested, and still continue to serve on the committee, get a committee together, and then we'll contact you.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. How's that? We'll start the communication, and we'll lay out a program for that.
Yeah, it sounds good. I just put up the last slide, was the timeline we were sort of hoping for, because we are talking to a number of communities. We're trying to cluster the towns in the Kennebec Valley. So we were hoping that Winslow, Waterville, Fairfield, Benton, and Clinton would serve as a cluster. And we were looking to start them also. We have meetings with Waterville and Fairfield and Clinton, Benton as well, and hoping to start everybody on a similar timing. And this is kind of the timing, the soft launch, we would have the totes in place by March, really get the education going, and in time for spring, when people are really waking up again to this, we would have the program and have it run for the full year, doing the assessments, and be able to report back to you midway in June and then at the end in February. So I know, in concert with your recycling committee, just this was the timeline that we were imagining.
Been in municipal government a long time. That seems a bit aggressive, but if we don't have a timeline, we'll never stick to it. So, or at least it's a goal. I don't know how, but it's something we can start and get going, especially during these times. It's difficult.
So Ray,
Yeah.
what I wanted to say is that a realistic goal? Or are we trying to do something too quick, then it collapses?
I think we'll let the committee and everybody
Let's get a committee
readjust
done.
yeah. We'll
And give
look
them
at the
about,
timeline. Yeah. We can
about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is to get the committee together and get CEOs interested, and then we'll go from there. But if any last closing statements on this program?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you.
Thank you for your time and effort. We'll be getting in touch with you, that's for sure.
Thank you,
Thanks for the
Suzanne.
presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gabe.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Next presentation for the evening is NLC Services Line Program for Winslow.
So we brought this up as a discussion item at our last meeting, and we indicated that we wanted to gather some more information. So I have Wes Preston from the NLC going to give us a little presentation here. And I believe, Wes, who did you also invite with you?
Ashley Shawarski.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
She's the director, but yeah. Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to present. I talked to Erica in December. So this is Wes Preston with the National League of Cities Service Line Program run by HomeServe. And you guys can all see my screen, correct? So a little bit about me. I'm in Connecticut. I work with cities and utilities across the Northeast. I'm just going to quickly go over the details of the program and why towns have partnered with us. The program addresses the issue of aging underground utility infrastructure. We know that communities across the U.S. have been doing their part to either upgrade or maintain the public infrastructure. But oftentimes the homeowners portion of the lines have been forgotten. We partner with communities to make our 100% voluntary program available to their residents. We provide residents with protection on their external water lines, external sewer lines, as well as in-home plumbing. We handle all aspects of the program. So that's the marketing, the billing, claims, and customer service. There's absolutely no cost to the city, and the city would receive an incremental revenue stream. One thing cities find most beneficial about our program is that it helps to raise awareness. We hear the same story in every city. When a resident has a break or an issue with their water or sewer line, their first call is often to the city. The city goes out to find that the break is on the resident's line, and there's nothing that the city can do. Most homeowners don't realize that their water and sewer lines on their property are their responsibility and are typically not covered by the city or their homeowner's insurance. Obviously, it's upsetting when they find they are responsible. A single water or sewer line issue can run from a couple $100 to north of $5,000. Our partners think of our program as a free public awareness campaign for the city. We would send a letter out to all your residents. It would let your residents know which portion of the lines are their responsibility and that the city has partnered with us to make this voluntary program available to them. Our program provides protection and peace of mind for your residents. So for a few dollars a month, the risk of their lines is ours. Once they're enrolled, if they do have an issue, all they would do is just give us a call. We'll dispatch a local licensed plumber to make the repair. We only use local licensed contractors, and you can provide us with a list if you'd like. All repairs are performed to the city code by local licensed contractors, so keeping the money in the local economy. For our coverage, we offer 3 separate programs: external water line coverage, external sewer line coverage, and in-home plumbing coverage. The two external lines of coverage are set up the same way. So for the water line, we would cover from the meter all the way to where the line daylights inside of the home. And for the sewer, we would cover all the way from the city main where the line daylights into the home as well. If they have any type of issue, whether it's a broken, cracked, leaking pipe, tree root penetration, just a clog that needs to be cleared out, or a thawing of a frozen external water line, they just give us a call. So what the resident receives for their coverage is up to $8,500 per an incident. That sets us apart from other offerings. The coverage is per an incident. There are no service fees or deductibles, no annual or lifetime limits, and there's no limit as to the number of claims that someone can have in a calendar year. Our third product picks up where the other two leave off. Our in-home plumbing covers up to $3,000 per incident inside the home after the point of entry. This includes lines that are embedded under the slab or basement floor, as well as clogged toilets. Again, all of this is on a per incident basis with no service fees, deductibles, or annual or lifetime limits. We notice that the residents who do enroll are more proactive and typically get the problem taken care of very quickly. We also provide a small revenue stream to the city with the partnership. You'll receive 50 cents per a month per paid warranty contract. So if a homeowner were to sign up for all three products, the city would receive $1.50 a month. The cities can use that however they would see fit. How do we market our products? We only market by direct mail. So you don't have to worry about us calling your residents, going door to door, or bombarding them with mail. We send up to 3 mailing campaigns per year. We make sure the homeowner understands that the products are 100% voluntary, separate, and that they can enroll in any combination of them that they choose. The marketing letter itself is designed to be educational and provide a warm welcome. It begins by explaining to the residents that what their responsibility is as a homeowner, and then clearly states that the program is completely voluntary. The letter also clearly states that the program is being offered by an outside company through a partnership with the city and not by the city itself, and would also explicitly direct them to contact us with questions about or interest in the program. Each letter is educational. It includes the city logo. Because of this, we reach out to the city before every campaign for your review and approval of the marketing letter. Without your approval, a mailing won't be sent at any point, so that whether it be in month 3 or year 3, that way the city has input on the message and knows exactly what's being sent. Once the city approves the information, we give you the exact date, so you'll also know when your residents will be receiving the information. We would never mail anything to your residents without a partnership and also approval before each and every mailing campaign. The partnership allows us to offer the best possible benefit at the lowest rate to your homeowners. So as of today, we have over 1,000 partners across North America. By deciding to endorse this program, you're not preventing other companies from offering a similar program to your residents. You'd just be providing them with this program as an option, which otherwise would not be available to them. We hope you'll choose to give your residents an opportunity to protect themselves from costly repairs. In summary, this program provides an optional, proactive solution to a problem that is bound to strike your residents at some point. Additionally, since homeowners often believe service line repairs are the municipality's responsibility, the program works to educate and inform the public on their lateral line responsibility. And then lastly, Winslow would qualify for a revenue share. Let me know if you have any questions now, or obviously if you think of anything later. My contact information is on the slide. Thanks for your time, guys.
Question. I know that since I was a utility coordinator for MDOT, Maine Department of Transportation, on projects, anything within the highway right-of-way, DOT considers the utility or municipality as their responsibility. How would you handle that?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again or ask it another way?
All right, let me change it. Basically, Maine Department of Transportation says that any utility facility within the highway right-of-way or a road right-of-way is the responsibility of, that's like sewer and water, of the utility itself, or the municipality. If we have NLC involved, how would that be handled?
So this program, not sure if this answers part of your question, but this program is from the meter or the main, so the road, right where the homeowner is responsible. So on the homeowner's piece, or on the homeowner's property. So outside of that, yes, it is the utility's responsibility. This would be that the sewer or water line that comes from the meter or the main to your house.
I was going to say, I can jump in too, Wes. Thanks again for having us. So if it is the town's responsibility currently, then it would remain the town's responsibility. So what we do cover is the resident's portion of the line. If the resident is responsible for right-of-way repairs, street repair, sidewalk repair, anything like that, that would be included in our coverage. But our specific coverage is geared towards the resident portion. So we pick up wherever the town leaves off and it becomes the resident's responsibility.
Is Paul Fogemi is he on the call right now? Paul, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What is the responsibility currently? Where do we, what's the situation? Could you add any light to this conversation?
The homeowner is responsible for the sewer line from the main line to their house, like the people are explaining. So they are responsible for the street if they have to excavate the street, their own lawns. So this wouldn't change what the responsibility is right now.
The coverage that they're offering would take from the main, include the sidewalk and road repair, and that's currently with the homeowner. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the homeowner's responsibility at this time.
Now, my other question is approximately what would be the cost to the homeowner?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the water line coverage, it would be $575 a month, and then $775 for the sewer, and then $999 for the in-home plumbing.
So how about the underground electrical lines? No coverage?
No, it would be for the water line, sewer line, and then in-home plumbing where the water and sewer line leave off. And there are three separate programs. So, one, this is fully voluntary, no matter who we market to, and then any homeowner can choose to enroll in any one of the three programs.
So how about gas lines going from the main to the house, or to the meter?
Good question. This program does not address the gas lines. It's for the water and sewer lines.
I'm all set.
Thank you.
Erica, could you add any to the conversation here, or what a path forward would be with this situation, or?
I don't see a big risk to the town in doing a program like this. Most residents, I mean, you know, I spent most of my professional career in public works, and it's absolutely the truth that most people don't understand what their responsibilities are when it comes to that infrastructure, and it usually comes as a pretty nasty surprise when something happens. So at a minimum, I think there's a benefit to our residents getting educated about what is out there that they could be responsible for. It seems to me that since NLC is taking on all of the education and we're not being charged for any of that, and that there is the potential for a small revenue stream, that it's really a no-risk proposal on our end. The only risk would be if there were some negative interactions from the public between NLC and the public felt that this was the town's program rather than dealing with a vendor. So again, probably what we would want to see is just some other towns. Sorry, the word just completely flew out of my head. Endorsements is the word I'm looking for. So I know that you all have only, I believe, one other municipality participating in the state. Is that Southern Portland or?
It's Portland Water,
Portland
and
Water.
they have been a partner since predated me a bit, but 2006. And in terms of sort of, I have some sort of basic information. I did not, I don't manage the account, so I don't know exactly who's running it over there, but can certainly take a look. But a big part of this program, as it is endorsed by the NLC, is customer satisfaction and education as well. So our customer satisfaction is 4.9 out of 5. And obviously, since we've been doing it since 2006, we have saved about close to $330,000 in repair savings, and that's just within Portland Water's footprint. And then in terms of everything else going out throughout Maine, we are pretty new to the Northeast in general, and sort of approaching some of the smaller municipalities throughout Maine and throughout the Northeast, and sort of other parts of the country have a little bit more of a participation level. But I was brought on to sort of help educate folks throughout the Northeast.
So I don't think we necessarily need to see data that's strictly from Maine. So having only one other individual one individual community in the state is not a big deal to me, but maybe just a couple of other towns that could indicate what their experience with the program has been.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we would handle this if you need council approval for this, Erica, or not. I believe it would be a good idea to, whether in a form of a resolution or something, that we would support this type of program. That way, if we get it on the docket, maybe for the February meeting, we could start the process of asking the questions, getting information about, and then maybe in the final stages, lining up local contractors that would be, and so that we could ensure that before we sent out information, that the program was a viable program and that it would be, what's your thoughts on that?
You're asking myself, Ray? I'm sorry.
Yes, I was, yeah. Would you think that a resolution would be in order, more information, and then sharing that information with the council moving forward?
I would think that bringing it to a resolution for the next meeting would be appropriate, and I can provide any extra information that Wes and Ashley can provide to me in the meantime, that helps you all make your decision.
Whoever has questions or, I would like to see a sample of what would be going out to the customers. That would be critical to me to ensure, that this is a program that's, I know that a lot of councilors might have an issue with the city seal, and that we are like, it's a municipal program and not, I just need to understand, and I think we all need to understand what the difference and why the seal and that type of thing.
And I would just say most of the municipalities we work with do have a resolution that they do pass. So that's pretty common. The next steps, we do enter into a marketing agreement with the town. So most agreements have to be a resolution passed by the municipality. So what I'll do, Wes and I can send Erica some samples that other communities have used. That way you don't have to recreate the wheel. The agreement lays out those pricing Wes went over with you, what your municipality's standard scope is for their water and sewer lines. Again, lets you know that we use the logo on our marketing material, but most importantly, it's in that agreement. We don't mail without your review and approval prior. Right. Agreements really also put into place to indemnify and hold the town harmless. So most of the time that does go in front of or as a resolution. And then just to Erica's last question, I know that we do know that, sometimes residents will have some questions about that. That's about the letter. That's why we only send it out with your review and edits and everything like that. And the normal process is once we enter into that agreement, we begin customizing that specifically for your town for your review and approval. We start working on getting those contractors, the local plumbers set up in the network, because typically once we get that agreement, we mail in about 12 weeks from that date. So it gives us a lot of time to put out a press release, give you information if you want it for your website, because residents go there for information. So then they see a little bit more about the program and direct them to give us a call. Same thing. If you're active on social media, we can give you things for Facebook and things like that. Our goal is really to let everyone know this is a program. They will be receiving a letter and to direct any calls over to us if they do have any questions. And we really try to make it as turnkey as possible for you all. We know you have more than enough going on there. So if there's anything we can do to make it as smooth as possible, we're happy to help.
Yeah,
I got one more. I have one more question. Since I work for DOT and some of the projects can be pretty long, could involve 40, 50, 60 different property owners, abutting property owners, how would we know or understand, do you have the funds to cover all of those if they were all joined in?
Sure. So we are backed by an insurance carrier. So we do, like, if you're worried if we're going to be able to pay the claims, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have been in business for 17 and a half years and we have never had an issue paying the claims, but we are backed by an insurance carrier. We are bonded. We are licensed by the state in order to provide the service. But also if for some reason something happened to our company, we are reinsured. So they would take care of your customers.
Yeah, I would suggest that you send any information you can to Erica, and by the February meeting, she would have communicated that information to us. And if you could be, to answer questions, be available at the February meeting when the resolution is on the table too.
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Lee.
The question I had was, as far as this, for lack of a better term, this policy with NLC, how does this program differ from a homeowner that can get an additional policy on their homeowner's policy to cover this same type of catastrophic failure or disaster?
Yeah, so the biggest difference is going to be the deductible. So you would have to meet that deductible, pay that deductible. And then just, specifically for some, fixed income seniors, this is an easy way to get somebody out to your house. You just say that you have a problem, we'll come take a look at it, especially if it's on the homeowner's property. So the biggest difference being the deductible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just kind of add on that. Normally your homeowners, a lot of homeowners insurances don't provide this type of coverage. It's not most time not covered under your standard policy. Sometimes there is that additional rider that is offered by a few insurance carriers. But a homeowner has to know that this is their responsibility to ask to add on that carrier or to add on that rider a lot of times. But as Wes said, that big thing is if you are one of the lucky ones where your homeowners does have the optional rider and you choose to add it on that way, it would have your normal homeowner's deductible of that $1,000 or something along those lines. As well as, everyone, when you file a claim with your homeowner's insurance, that typically raises your premium. So this is nice about our program that you have coverage at $1 where we have no service fees or deductibles, and it's available to everyone within the community at the same price. So you don't have to worry, if I file 3 claims in the, over the past few years, your premium's not going to increase based on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. I think we've got a path forward for it. I think, we're going to make a resolution, and then you're going to send some information to Erica, and then Erica's going to send the information to us so that we can have a discussion on the February meeting, how and if we move forward. Erica, is that a good path forward?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else have any questions before we leave? And thank you very much for waiting and for presenting to us tonight. And we'll be in touch shortly.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Moving on to committee and commissions, reports of committee and commissions. We'll start with the town manager's report. I think you're muted, Erica.
I apologize. Multitasking, it's a bad idea. So the biggest thing that has been happening for us is mostly the sale of the tax acquired properties. We've been making quite a bit of headway there. In the month of December, we closed on Minnow Lane. It was a full price sale of $40,000, and out of that we collected $37,000. That was after paying commission to the realtor. We also collected $12,010 for China Road, lots 77001 and 78002. That's a nice chunk of money, but unfortunately it's kind of low. I think everybody's pretty well aware of the history on that one, because we just sold the one property for back taxes. So it wasn't a big gain on that one, but we did bring in an extra $12,000 in revenue to the town. On tonight's council agenda is an order to accept bids on the Maple Ridge Farm. We closed that bid on December 29th. We got 3 bids total. High bid was $175,000, and you will be voting on whether I can accept that bid or not tonight. Chris Franklin from the Maine Farmland Trust has joined us tonight, and he will be able to answer questions as to whether their proposal works for the Farmland Trust as well. We're also currently under contract right now on Ellis Road. That's ongoing. We're in the customer's due diligence period. So as long as that goes through, we'll be closing on that one for $55,000. It is a little low compared to the assessment, but the problem is the house is basically falling down. So we're mostly selling on the value of the land. Clinton Avenue is still up for sale. We did receive an offer on that for $25,000. in talking to our realtor, I felt that was very low, and that if we hold on to that one a little longer and get into the April timeframe, when the flippers are more active, at that point, we could probably bring more money for that property. So more will be to coming on that. And then we have South Reynolds Road, Lot 3H. In my report, it says that we have not heard back from the individual that I offered the property to for $5,000, but she has since responded and she is ready to move ahead with that sale. I had talked to Mike Hevener on that property because there's apparently a very complicated history on it. It was on the market for, I guess, about a year, had 3 separate offers that all fell through because of issues with actually utilizing that property. So to sell to an abutter is a good deal. And in discussing that with Mike, he also felt that whatever we could get for it was probably good just to get us some revenue and get us out of the property ownership business. And then there's the Orion Ropeworks building. I do have this on as discussion item for later as well, but we'll actually be discussing this in executive session. They had tendered an offer of 1.8 million. We have countered that offer and the negotiations are ongoing. So hopefully we will be closing a deal on that within imminently within the next couple of weeks, not closing the deal, but at least having it ready for the council to vote on acceptance of the offer. We also have vehicles up for sale right now. We have the ladder truck, the Ford Rescue, or I'm sorry, the Fire Rescue, and a 2001 Ford pickup from Parks. All of those are currently accepting bids and they will be closing this week on Thursday. So we'll see what we get for all of those. None of them have to be sold if the reserves are not met. The purpose with the fire equipment is to bring in revenue that would support either the second ambulance, which is, I believe, what the chief and I are envisioning, or if it would bolster the capital account for fire. So we do have one community that's shown significant interest in the ladder truck, and that's Unity. But we have tried to reach out a little further. I've posted all 3 auctions on the town's website, our Facebook pages, and I've also posted it out on the Maine Municipal Association website. And last thing would just be our ongoing projects. Our Benton Avenue Storm Sewer project, we got the bids on that. They ranged from a low of 1.36 million to a high of 2.83. So you can see there's a pretty big range out there. The good news is that the same contractor won the bids for both our storm sewer side and the Kennebec Water District side of the project. So that will make coordinating all the work that has to go on much easier. Ranger Construction is the presumptive winner of that project. Budget preparation is ongoing. I've been meeting with the department heads over the last couple of weeks. I've got a couple more to go. So we'll be ready to submit the budget to all of you at the end of the month for your review so we can start all the budget hearings. And that's pretty much all we've got for the report for the month of December. Lots of stuff's already happening in January, so look for that next report to be pretty full.
Yeah, we know you've got a lot on your plate, especially preparing for the budget, and we thank you for your diligence, and we'll get through the process. It'll actually be fun, I think, but who knows?
I've never heard budget referred to as fun, but
I got that. Yeah, well, we'll see. Paul, one of the questions I have with the Benton Avenue project right now is I know that we have a plan in place, and this is probably more, Paul, for the reconfiguration of the parking lot and some other modifications in front of near the town office. I was wondering, Paul, if we would bid that out as part of this project to try to do it at the same time. I know we had initially planned to do that.
I believe our initial plan was to do that in-house as much as possible. The only thing going out, the contract's probably going to be the paving. We're going to do the bulk of the earthwork in-house to try to save roughly about $100,000.
So if the council still decides to move forward with that, you could support that this summer?
Yes, I believe we can. I mean, it's not a large project. There's probably a couple, 2 weeks worth of work in there to get that ready for paving.
Okay. I noticed part of that project was for the electronic sign, but that's not a big deal either, correct?
I don't think so. I mean, the bulk
Okay.
for us would be to run conduit.
Okay,
for
okay, okay.
line.
So that's going to be a decision that the council has to make in the near future.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Is that it, Erica?
That's it for me. Just
Okay.
my department heads all have short reports for you as well.
Yep, let's start with Park and Rec. Amanda?
Hi. So we're just getting ready for the summertime. This is my time of year where I start planning field trips and all the excitement that will happen. Obviously, I'm planning for different outlooks and different plans depending on where we are with the COVID and what the stipulations are going to be on the guidelines that the state gives us. It also depends on access to buildings within the school system, or if I'm going to have to look more outside again this summer. So we're starting that process. I'm working with the AG Commission on the town forest and the direction that's heading. And yeah, just ready for all this to be over so we can go back to normal.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Paul?
For Amanda?
Whoops, go ahead.
Yep.
Amanda, just a quick question. Anything new regarding the banner and CMP for the veterans?
Yes, I believe that we're all set now. I mean, this is the third time we've been all set. As Paul knows, when he was upstairs in the office, you know, we've gotten the all okay from Consolidated Communications twice, and twice we've gotten letters saying we're not all set. I think we have everything really all set this time. It's just a matter of getting that group back together, decide which direction we're going in. Originally, we were going to fundraise per post. I think it's not really the current climate to fundraise, so we may just look at a different pricing structure for the flags. But yeah, I plan on getting the band back together here in the next month or so and proceeding with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Amanda? If no other questions for Manager Paul Forgemy, Public Works?
Right now, as you realize, it's been a fairly quiet weather-wise, so we've done some work down at the park for Amanda. We pulled out a lot of the trees that had floated up in the last high water. We've cut some bushes around the Fort Halifax property. The rest will probably get in the spring. I've actually got my guys painting inside the shop, trying to take advantage of it to clean up the place. It's been 13 years, so other than that, we've got the guys separating two crews, trying to keep them as safe as possible, and it's pretty much what we've got going on right now. I've put out an RFQ for sewer work up on Sunset Heights. I get that out till the end of the month to see where we want to go with sewer work up there. Since we want to try to start paving some of those streets, we really need to examine what's subsurface and drainage, and you know, try to plug away at that project slowly but surely. It's probably going to be a multi-year project, but that's my plan right now. And that's about all I've got right now. If somebody has questions.
If there's no questions for Paul, we'll move on. Lisa in the library, are you here tonight?
Hi all, yes I am. Glad to see everybody, even if it's only on a video screen. We're a little busy at the library. We've been doing a lot of patron education, training a lot of our patrons how to use our online catalog so that it makes curbside pickup a little easier for them. We had created a video that patrons can watch that teaches them how to use online requesting and all that sort of thing. So we're busy with that. We're in the process of working with Waterville IT to get our new server installed. We've purchased the server and the software that we need for it. So we're just waiting on IT to let us know when they're going to install it. We'll probably need to be not be able to provide service for those hours because basically our online catalog goes through our server and our internet and everything. So when they have to pull out the old server and install the new, we won't be operational for those few hours when they do that. But once I have a date from IT, I'll let you all know and keep our patrons informed on that. And I have an install date for, I don't know if all of you are aware, Our first purchase with the proceeds from the Escalon Trust Fund is a reading nook for the children's area, and we're hoping that that's going to be delivered on January 27th. It's a giant rocket ship that's going to go into our children's area, and it's big enough so that the kids can crawl inside and read a book with their mother or father or Kathleen, our children's librarian, God willing, when we actually get back to normal. So that's going to be a wonderful added service for our kids, and everyone's enjoying that. So we're working with the gentleman who's building with it to have it installed at the end of the month. Beyond that, we're just chugging along. But soon we're going to be offering a new service. Some of you have probably used ebooks and online audiobooks. Well, we're going to be providing a service that is online graphic novels. Think comic books on steroids. It's mostly focused on our young adult, our teen students, but also a lot of adults are into graphic novels now. So that now, with us having to be closed, they'll be able to access all that from online as well. That's about it for me, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Lisa? If no questions for Lisa, Judy in assessing, are you there, Judy?
I am here. Good evening, everybody. One of the things I've been working on for the past week or so is running extracts of all the sales. As you probably read in some of my reporting lately, the sales have increased, not only in the amount of sales, but the actual value that they're selling for. They're still continuing to come in. And what I am seeing since April 1st is probably close to 100 good qualified sales that are coming in 20% over our assessments. They are mainly made up of very basic ranches within the clustered housing, and they're selling anywhere from 150 to 250. We're seeing some of the outreach neighborhoods of a little bit of a higher value neighborhoods going for about 350. A couple of big sales that have recently occurred is the Mid-State Machine Building was sold from, Sukeforth to, I believe it's the same company that occupies the property for 7.8 million, and we have about 3.7 on it. The other thing that sold that was of high value were the storage lockers that was owned by Plord. Those sold for over 3.5 million as a total. And I think we have about 2.5. So I think as time goes by, we're going to, as assessors statewide, keep an eye on the market and see if it's an actual trend over the next year. Because it could go the other way just as easily as it came to this that we're in now. So rather than react, we're going to all sort of keep an eye on it and sort of work together statewide and make our decisions uniformly to some degree. There are different towns and cities that make adjustments every year, so it's easier for them to do that and react. But I don't believe that it would be a wise thing to do at this point. But in speaking with Erica a little bit about the history of our valuations, and as you all know, being here for the first one they had in 2008, we are getting closer to that time frame where we need to get some professional people in here to actually inventory our properties and make sure that we're getting our best bang for the buck, so to speak. Because even if we raised everybody's values at 20%, the tax rate would go down, but you'd still be raising the same amount of money to spend. So it really wouldn't matter. So I'm not seeing any pockets of neighborhoods that are different or out of the norm from the 20%. That's when I would start to worry. In other words, if part of the neighborhood was at 50%, the other part was at 20%, that's when your inequities take place. And that's when that's a problem. But we're not seeing that. It's really all across the board. But that's pretty much what I've been working on, just sort of get a grip on what's happening, talking with other assessors and being educated on the process. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, Judy, any questions for Judy? Judy, are we right now scheduled to have an assessment done on the properties in the town of Winslow? You
Well,
mentioned that
we're
it was
not scheduled.
2008.
We're not actually scheduled, and one of the things one of the items I did put on last year for capital reserve was setting money aside for what we call a statistical update. And that's when you hire professionals to come in and look at the properties, but not literally go through the whole inventory and come up with better pricing schedules, because since 2008, the cost to build has increased and our cost schedules don't match that. So I would like to see that happen. But it's also probably a good discussion or a workshop, probably for the council too, is to discuss whether we want to go that route for about 100,000, or maybe save for another year or two up for a big, huge town revale, which could cost about 300,000.
Okay. Is that in the budget to put away money this year
Yes.
for that? It is, okay. So we'll take a look at it.
Judy, didn't you do a voluntary thing here a year or so ago?
I did. That was very successful, and believe it or not, that was in 2014. I know, and that was very successful. We sent out probably close to 1,500 surveys to just residential properties, and we got about a 65% return on that. I probably visited about 300 of those homes and met with people and talked with them, and it was a really great public relations effort. And I'm entertaining doing that again, just maybe for this winter even, and have people let me, tell me if they've made updates or added the heat pump, or it's all discovery.
And it didn't cost us $300,000 to do it.
No. Thank you.
Okay. I might be losing my computer in a few seconds here. My battery is running low and my charger doesn't seem to be working, but we'll go to
Sounds
the
like
next.
me.
Yeah. Adam in assessing, please. Adam in codes, please. Are you there, Adam?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, just the regular permits are still kind of trickling in. Most of the activity right now is kind of on the planning side. We're going to try to have our planning board meeting via Zoom. Things going on there. You probably saw in the paper today, Maine Crisp is opening up a manufacturing facility on Lithgow Street, the old Alsco building. So that's pretty exciting. It's a good new company to have in Winslow. And they're going to do some renovations in that building. Also just heard today that Maine Boat Rental is looking to go towards phase 2 of their project, which is another over 20,000 square foot building. So that's a big project. Also, we'll be working with the DEP on some dam renovations. And also they're looking to put in a fishway, so the planning board will be looking at them. You probably noticed McCormick's building is up. They're still working on the exterior, but that's coming along nicely. And besides that, things are going good. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yes. What's Maine Crisp?
They manufacture like not a potato chip, but it's like a healthy chip. I'm guessing it's very nutritional. It's like a mini piece of bread, but it's in a chip form.
They manufacture organic snacks.
Yeah.
I've actually got a meeting with the founders at the end of this week on Friday. I've got a Zoom meeting with them. For all of your information, they've already been in business for quite a while. They were just in a much smaller space over at the Railroad Square Cinema. And they purchased the building on Lithgow Street. And that has closed already. So they are getting ready to move in. They also have a contract with Whole Foods to distribute nationwide. So it's another up and coming company, which will be good for us to get in Winslow.
That's great news. Any other questions for Adam? If no questions for Adam,
Nope.
Peter from schools, are you here, Peter Tibertot?
I'm here, Ray. Good evening.
Good evening.
Things are going as well in our schools as we can possibly ask for them to go, considering the times that we are in. Of course, we're into our second week back from the holiday break. As you all know, the cases are up all over the central Maine and various areas. Knock on wood, we are still in our hybrid mode. We're into our second week after break. There's a lot going on, as there is with all of you. You've already mentioned budget development. We are in the process of starting that as well with all of our various buildings. There's been a second round, or I should say almost a third round of federal dollars that we need to apply for by the end of this month. This next round, again, is monies that is intended to keep schools open. It is not, you cannot use the money on things to supplant the budget. It must be used on things to keep schools open, whether that's cleaning and disinfecting, daycare, air quality concerns, all of those various pieces. The nice thing about this next round of money, though, is that it's not on such a tight timeline. The first round needed to be all accounted for, and things needed to be in place by the 30th of December, which made it very difficult for us to put everything in place that needed to be done during a very short window of time, because everybody throughout the country is looking for the same things that we were looking for. On a lighter note, the winter sports season has started. Kennebec County, of course, is still green. And so we were able to start with some of our winter activities, basketball, hockey being two of them. That's very closely monitored with the CDC guidelines, where the students must wear masks. We have no one else in the building, no fans, no spectators during games. Everything will be streamed. So it's very tight, monitored in terms of safety, but it gives the kids the opportunity to participate and still gives the parents and fans the opportunity to view, because everything will be live streamed. In a nutshell, Ray, that's how things are going.
Hey, Peter, we ended up with what, 3 new buses on that last one, huh?
We were able to purchase buses, Ben, because you had to have some in the budget already. Otherwise, you could not purchase.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we had 2 in the budget. So we have been able to purchase, I believe, a total of 3. I think you are correct. We had 1 in the first round. We took 2 more in the second round. They're all gas-powered vehicles, about $92,000 a piece. All things that will help us tremendously, obviously, because there is no payback on these. It's all part of that, federal dollars.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome, Ben.
Any other questions for Peter? And again, Peter, thank you for your dedication and hard work, and all the teachers that are putting in insurmountable amount of time in trying to make this program work. Again, I think from the whole council, I can't even express my appreciation and for what you guys are going through and the hard work that you're doing. You can rest assured that we hear all good things, and you're doing the best you can, and keep up the good work, and hopefully in a couple of years you'll look back on this and hopefully it'll be a distant memory. And thank you again, Peter, very much.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you to the council for your support.
Even this year, the budget season will be even not as major as endeavor as what you're going through right now. So thank you again, Peter. We'll go on to police. Chief McDade.
Yes, good evening again. I'm going to touch base on just a few of the things in my report I gave to you. One of the most productive things was we had a Zoom meeting with Patrick Adams from DOT, myself, town manager Adam, and Paul. And we reviewed the safety action plan for Winslow, and it basically talked about sidewalks, and I think everybody's in agreement where the weak spots were and what needed to be looked at. So we should have more information about that later on. One of the other positive things was we took the police and fire departments took part in the Reefs Across America, which was a really positive detail. A lot of people from the public took part, and that was really good overall. One of the big things I did this couple weeks ago was I instituted a weekly log to be completed for the detective and the SRO. I wanted that, gave me a chance to allow and monitor on a daily activity what was going on, and try to redirect some of the efforts in a more efficient and positive way. They either turn it into me first thing at the beginning of the week or at the end of the week, and it's been real productive the last couple of weeks. I think it's going to continue on for some time. And ending on a really good note also is we're going to be hiring Jacob Poulin this week, a young man from Fairfield, very young, in his early 20s. He has no police experience. We're planning on probably 3 months of training him before we can actually get him on the road, but very well-rounded young man, and we're very looking forward to getting him part of our team effort here and getting part of the team. So, do you have any questions at all?
Any questions for police, McDade? If there's no questions, we'll go on to fire. Ronnie?
Hey, good evening. How are you? As Erica said, we have the two pieces of equipment that are up for auction right now. I spent a good portion of the weekend communicating with a fire department out of West Virginia that is interested in the Quint, the ladder truck that we have for sale. So I'm looking for them to be pretty active in the bidding process. As Chief McDade mentioned, we did a joint effort with the Reefs Across America. That was quite the honor, having that convoy come through and stopping at our own Veterans Park to lay wreaths at the different memorials. It's been a busy month. December was an extremely busy month for us. We ran over 100, we were dispatched and responded to over 126 calls. We had a structured fire in Winslow, 2 that we provided mutual aid to Waterville, 1 to Unity. It's that time of year, you know, people are bringing wood in and generating fires in their fireplace. COVID continues, like Peter mentioned, COVID continues to be a concern for us. We treat every EMS incident as if it's a COVID positive person, and we don our personal protective equipment. And fortunately for us, our exposures have been minimum, and we are maintaining our staffing with no positive cases. So what we're doing is working, and it's a good thing for us. December marked the end of our 6-month transport service, and I'm looking forward to the end of the discussion meeting. So at the end of the meeting, so I can present my 6-month review, and I'm open for questions. Hearing none.
Ronnie, how do we stand with the paramedic training?
Well, due to COVID, our participation is through KVCC.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, KVCC shut down back, I want to say it was last March, for a while. So they went from a 80-hour a month classroom participation to a hybrid where it turned into more like, I can't give an hour figure right now, but it significantly reduced to an online format. So by doing that, it extended the program. So our paramedic program is still in session right now, and it is due to end in May, sometime in May, late April or May.
That's what I was looking for, Ron. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Ron? If no other questions, I think, unless I've missed a department, that ends the departments. Is there any departments that I've missed? If there is none, I'd like to get a motion to department reports and finance
So
committee.
moved.
Second.
Second, you got that, Lisa? Jerry the first and Ben second.
Got it. You ready for the roll call?
Sam?
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Jeff West. Was Jeff a yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Okay. Moving to the public comment section of the meeting. I'm going to read, we have 3 letters that were submitted from the public comment section. The first letter is from Ken Fletcher regarding the fire department. A total of 246 patients were transported by Winslow Fire Department ambulance since inception in July. During that 5 months time frame, Delta supplied 37 incidences of mutual aid, 13% of all transports. Of that total number of Delta mutual aid events, 14 were for paramedic intercepts. Question: why were 14 paramedic intercepts required? When will Winslow Fire Department have qualified paramedics on each shift so Delta mutual aid paramedic intercepts will no longer be required? Second comment: the November report showed a year-to-date net revenue gain of $29,514 with $84,000 in accounts receivable outstanding. Question: why has the accounts receivable outstanding increased by $19,000 from October report? What has been the actual experience of money received as compared to money billed? Are actual received equal to the billed amount? Comment 3. Based on the November year-to-date actual net revenue gain of $29,514, it would take another 5.6 months mid-May of 2021 to recoup the $85,000 that was spent to buy the first used ambulance. If the second used ambulance was purchased for $70,000, it would require an additional 7.1 months mid-December 2021 of net revenue to recoup the taxpayers' cost. Question: does the town council agree with this financial estimate? And if not, what is the council analysis? Comment 4. The existing conditions are based on Winslow Fire Department staffing of 3 persons per shift. Question: if the staffing was increased to 4 per shift, what would be the financial impact to Winslow taxpayers? My estimate is that the long-term cost would increase by at least $220,000 per year, which would be at least $100,000 plus deficit after considering the ambulance net revenue of $99,800 per month. Question: does the council agree that adding an additional person per shift will require more Winslow taxpayer money to support? Comment 5. The November department report identifies a year-to-date per diem expense of $9,141. Question: why was the expense occurred? Thank you, Ken Fletcher. The second letter entered for public comment is from Ben Stafford of Lee Street. I am speaking for the record that I continue my objection to any change in zoning use of the area known as Dunbar Acres situated in or around Lee, Lessard, and Marie Streets, as well as the China Road. Any use of the land or designation other than exclusively residential should not be allowed, as it can change the quality of life for the residents in and around the area. The council should not allow any changes which could have unintended negative consequences, not only for the neighbors, but for the town as a whole. The third public comment is by Marcia Stetson on Marie Street. I am writing to continue to express objection to heavy equipment being placed at Marie Street site. This is a high residential area and should remain as such. We all bought our homes to be in the neighborhood, The original request from the tenant was one garage and one piece of equipment to warm up in the winter, stated clearly in council meetings. The contractor zone does not hold it to that and is allowing for multiple pieces of heavy equipment at the site. The initial contract was for all equipment to be stored within 4 walls and a roof. Now the owners request to be able to store equipment perhaps outside as well. When will the residents of the neighborhood be fully informed of exactly the building size could be? Number of vehicles? Will the road be paved? There was a huge dust issue prior to snowfall. It seems much consideration be given to 2 individuals and not much weight to the concerns of people who brought homes and have been paying taxes on them for many years. If a contract is to be granted for such a business to be placed, then it should also include a requirement for proposed houses to be built. Otherwise, there is no guaranteed tax base increase other than the garage. For those of you who have not come to the site to see how it is going to impact the neighborhood, I wish you would. I think it would help you to understand that it's something based on emotion. There's something based on emotion for the residents. It is based on keeping the neighborhood a neighborhood. Thank you for your time. Moving on to table business, order number 7-2020, an amendment to the Winslow Town zoning map to rezone a portion of a lot owned by C&L Real Estate on tax map 13, lot 115 from the high residential zone, HDR, to contract zone high density residential zone. The portion of the lot is described as lot 87, 88, and 89 in Dunbar Acres and Dunbar Acres Annex subdivision and recorded in the Kennebec County Registry of Deeds on September 29, 1961, and book 24, page 51. It is currently a table business. I have met Steve Martin and Chuck Lambert. I have met with last Friday, and there is some wording changes to this ordinance that they would like to submit. It should be looked at right now by Erica. It should be looked at by Bill Lee and Adam before I think it puts off the table. So I am suggesting that we keep that article table. Erica, do you have anything further you would like to comment on this?
Only that I definitely want to get legal's opinion on any word change, any language change to that document. I'm just concerned that we need to make sure that the basis for the contract zone remains valid. That's
okay.
all.
Okay. Yep. And we have the wording change, and we just got to get, you guys three got to get together and discuss it, right? And when you do, if I could be in on that discussion, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll make sure you're there.
Okay.
So let's keep this tabled.
Okay. If there's no other discussions, Lisa, could you have a roll call on table?
I can. So Jerry made the motion, and who's second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ben. Roll call. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Jeff West, Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Joseph
Sorry.
Gravel. Joseph Gravel. And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Old
6-0.
business. Yep, thank you very much. Old business, order number 25-2020, providing for the acceptance with amendments or denial of the Agricultural Commission's recommendation that the Flying Pigs Farm owned by Russell and Diane Wheeler be accepted into the town's voluntary farm support program. Can I have a motion, please?
Move.
Second.
So moved by Jeff West, seconded by Rocky. Any discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, we can. Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Clarion,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And can I just ask quickly, Rocky, did you say yes for the previous one and I just didn't hear you?
Yes. Yeah.
On the previous motion, did you say yes on
Yes.
that and I just didn't hear you? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yep. Going on to new business, order number 1-2021, providing for the authorization for the town manager to sell the property of Maple Ridge Road, tax map 3, lot 3, 8-8 and 8-1 with an easement from Farmland Trust to Trapper and Brook Clark for the high bid amount of $175,000.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If no discussion, have a roll call vote, please, Lisa.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo, Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
7-0,
Resolution.
thank you.
Yep, thank you. Resolution number 3-2021, providing for a pole location permit, Central Maine Power Company and Consolidation Communications Income. Work order number 801-000-59423.
So moved.
So move. Second.
Is there any questions on resolution number 3-2021?
All still present.
Paul, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Oh, are those the poll permits for that 201 job?
Not to my knowledge, I just submitted the last easements today on that, so I don't know where these are.
I was reading that not too long ago, and I believe it's right here on the Roderick Road. They're replacing 8 poles.
That's possible. They've been doing a lot of upgrading all over Winslow, so.
Thank you.
That's correct. Lee.
What's correct, Jerry? Roderick Road?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If no discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call, please?
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West, Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Resolution number 4-2021, providing for authorization for the fire chief to sign a mutual aid agreement with the Oakland Fire Department.
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Ronnie, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Anything to add about this mutual aid? Is it just a standard mutual aid agreement?
Yes, sir. This is just an update to an already existing mutual aid agreement that's been on file since 1990, give or take, something in the 90s. So it's just, it falls right along with the Fairfield-Benton mutual aid agreement, the Waterville mutual aid agreement, and I think we just executed it with Albion and possibly Vassalboro. So it all goes, it's pretty standard boilerplate agreement.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Quirian,
Yes.
Jeff West, Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Moving on to discussion items, we'll go under the first one is, I think it's for Paul, bridge repair or bridge update.
Actually, it's Paul and I together. Basically, we just had the first meeting with MDOT regarding the replacement of the Taconic Bridge, and there's a couple of things we wanted to pass along. This is pretty high level at this point because we're not looking at anything happening as far as construction until late 2022 to early 2023. One of the things that needs to be considered, and keep in mind that this is not our project. They're asking for town input from both ourselves and Waterville, but we don't have any kind of final say or any actual vote in what happens. But they were asking for our input on our opinion of what should be done to as far as the work and closure of lanes on the bridge. Basically, what is up on the table right now for options is to keep one lane of traffic in each direction at all times. That would be one lane only, so traffic will back up. We're going to have backups through the Bay Street intersection going all the way up to Halifax Street, China Road, when we have our busy times of day. Another option, which would cut approximately 6 to 12 months off the entire project, would be to completely close the bridge and detour traffic down to the new bridge and coming up 201. That's about what they estimated was a 4-mile detour, and will add an average of 10 minutes to individuals' commutes. So not a perfect answer, but a possibility. And then a third option was to keep traffic one way only on the bridge. So some traffic would have to reroute and traffic in the other direction would continue. Or the fourth option would be a combination of all of the above at different times during the project. My feeling, and I believe Paul and I are both in agreement in this, is that there is no perfect answer. It's all going to generate angst no matter what we do, because people are going to be inconvenienced, and they're looking at this being approximately a 3-year project. So do you want to be inconvenienced a lot for 6 to 12 months less, or do you want to be inconvenienced slightly less for a longer period of time? I think both of us feel that the better option is to shut the thing down entirely, but they'll be looking for the town's input, so we wanted to pass that up to you all to be thinking about. They will be starting public hearings next month, I believe they said. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Paul, but I believe that's what they said in our meeting.
I believe you're correct, yes.
So the public themselves will have chances to comment on this. The other thing that needs to be considered is that we have a World War I monument on the bridge. MDOT indicates they no longer allow that because of difficulties when you have to do bridge construction or rehab. So this one is going to, at a minimum, have to be temporarily relocated, but preferably be relocated altogether. I'm not sure what the costs will be involved. I know they said that they would temporarily relocate it for us. But as far as installing permanently in another location, I don't know what we would be on the hook for. But we should be thinking about how we want to address that monument. And again, none of these decisions need to be made today, but they're all things I want you to have on your radar so that you can think about it. And they did address, Jerry, I know you had questions in the past about Summit Gas. Summit Gas is at this point requesting to be part of that project so that they can come across the bridge. But again, we're a good 2 years away from even starting construction. So it's going to be a while before that comes over across the bridge, but it is in the works.
If Summit is not on the bridge, then on the new one, it's almost impossible for them to get on later on. It's up to them. It's their money.
They're all aware of that, Jerry. That's why they're on the project right now.
Now, how about the railroad?
Railroad is not, the intersection itself is part of the project, but relocation or improvements to the railroad are not. I did ask the question about if they could help us facilitate some kind of discussion with the railroad. They said they would be more than happy to open the conversation for us. They just don't want it to be something that holds up the project. Really, I mean, it's our fight with the railroad over those crossings, and we kind of got some agreement to kind of help us grease the skids on getting them to do something about it, but not a firm commitment. But they will be they will be upgrading the intersection, just not the railroad itself.
It's actually DOT's responsibility.
I understand that.
Yeah. I know they'll try to push away from it. And if they do, because the last time that crossing was totally rebuilt was 1970, when the bridge was rebuilt.
No, we're on the same page, Jerry. I just, you know, I'm pushing for them to get them to do something. The sale of the railroad was brought up again. Some of the people in the meeting hadn't heard it at all. Others were like, yes, it's going to CSX. So hopefully if they do manage to sell it to somebody like CSX, railroads are never easy to deal with, but I will say I've dealt with CSX quite a bit in the past, and I at least could get to people I needed to talk to, which right now we're not getting any response out of Pan Am whatsoever at our level. Paul and I have both contacted them, and there's, you know, it's crickets. There's nothing going on with them getting back to us.
Who have you been talking at Pan Am?
Paul, you have the name.
I sent an email to Ted Krug, the chief of engineering, and he never responded. So I've got a couple other avenues I'm going to try. I'm going to go through the Federal Railroad, but I really hate to do that because apparently they don't play well together. But if we have to, we will. We'll get those crossings fixed one way or the other, especially the ones on Lithgow Street now, because with more businesses going down there's going to be a lot more traffic. So we need to look at those as well.
That could give us some additional leverage to get MDOT to do something as well. I think the point here with Mark Parlin was he's the project coordinator on this project. And I am getting a little bit of pushback from him, although he did agree to help out. I don't think he's really the one that we need to talk to at MDOT to get a firm commitment that we're going to do something about them.
The person that I used to deal with, who's the president of Pan Am, is Dave Fink. Out of Knoxville, Rica.
Okay.
Last name is F-I-N-K.
Got it.
Any further discussion on the bridge update? If there's no further discussion, we'll go on to the next topic, the ambulance service. I believe, Ronnie, you have some information, a presentation for us.
I do. And let me get this up. I'm going to screen share with you if you don't mind. Okay, how does that look? Everybody see that?
Looks beautiful.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time to go over an analysis of the transport service after the first 6 months. I proposed this service over 2 years ago as a means to offset and minimize the financial impact of an aged fleet, an aged facility, and to put in place a sustainable capital replacement program. December 31st marked the end of the first 6 months of our transport service. Because of this program, we have reduced wait times, raised our license level as a department and individually. We've raised revenue, but most importantly, we've saved lives. My original proposal for the transport service was to help and ease an overburdened regional EMS system. This overburdened system has been highlighted in a recent news article, November 23rd in the Morning Sentinel, where it describes how Central Maine isn't in a crisis, not only for staffing, but in transport units for our EMS service. The proposal was also to generate a revenue stream to help offset departmental operational costs. It takes a lot of money, as everyone knows, to run an emergency service. The proposal was also to improve service delivery by adding a program that is beneficial to both the department and the community. My original proposal, getting back to the revenue stream, I had projected and used in our ambulance workshops a revenue of $250 per call, and as I will show later on in this slideshow, that we're doing well above that. To start up the service, I wanted to start with a used ambulance to minimize the initial investment by purchasing a used ambulance. The ongoing proposal is to use that revenue to support purchasing a newer ambulance and utilize the used ambulance as a reserve should one go down for service or repair. Startup costs. The ambulance purchase price was $58,000. The stretcher was $14,955. Those two figures, hang on here, I've got a little trick here. This and this came out of capital, our capital expenditure, capital fund. Additional required equipment came to a total of $9,340. Insurance was $2,047. The highlight there is to emphasize the fact that we were going to pay insurance whether we had a transport service or not. Equipment warranty and maintenance for 7 years on the stretcher, and the cardiac monitor was $56.70, bringing a total investment into the transport service of $90,012. So our budget, the fire department budget versus the actual expenditures for the service are listed on this screen. We have already, this is to highlight the fact that whether we did a transport service or not, we were going to incur expenses related to our EMS service. Our vehicle and radio maintenance line for the entire fleet was reduced as a result of the purchase of the two pieces of equipment. The engine and the ladder truck was reduced. Our budget line for was reduced to $30,500. That was a significant reduction of $45,000 because of the purchase of the new vehicles. The rescue medical supplies, the line item budget was $9,000, and part-time help, we have a budgeted line item for part-time help of $37,600. This was the budget as implemented before we even started transport service. So translating over to the actual expenses to date for the transport service, we have spent $3,020 on vehicle and radio maintenance. Rescue medical supplies, we have spent $6,903. This amount of $6,903 would have come out of our line item budget of $9,000 regardless. Part-time help is $11,135. We use that, though that represents the part-time hiring of paramedics to supplement our staffing, which was budgeted with the $37,600. Contracted services of $6,090. That is what we pay for our paramedic, part of our paramedic intercept, but mostly the bulk of that is for the third-party billing service. We have a miscellaneous expense account of $294, and that was for forms and some other miscellaneous things that we needed to implement our service. I would like to point out that of this part-time help of $11,135, that falls within the guidelines of the FEMA COVID-19 reimbursement, and we have submitted for reimbursement for this, in addition to the other improvements we've made to not only to the fire department, police department, but all the temporary improvements we've made to the town. And we are in the final stages of the reimbursement for the COVID-19 grant funding. So this $11,135, even though we've spent that money, we will be reimbursed for that. Our revenue versus expenses. In July, we received one check. It was very small. August, this represents how much money we spent on expenses in August. This is, when I say revenue, I need to highlight the fact that this is actual money in the bank. This graph represents the actual money that we have had deposited electronically in our bank account. For September, our deposits were just under 25,000 with expenses right around 10. October, we had deposits just under $10,000, and that was a software issue where we had neglected to click ready to bill on our MEFRS reports. That's why that's so low. Our expenses for October are just under $5,000. For November, we're right at $18,000 in receipts. And for December, we received over $28,000 in receipts. With the, I don't have it in front of me, how much, it's in the monthly report, how much we spent for the month of December. So, cost versus receipts or revenue. Our startup costs were $90,012. The year-to-date expenses, what we have spent every month since inception, is $28,142. We will be reimbursed from FEMA for $11,135, bringing the total cost for the ambulance transport service of $107,019. Compare that to our year-to-date receipts. What is actually in the bank, what we have actually had deposited in our account, is $81,159. This is revenue that, had we not made the investment, the town would not have realized. We would not have received this money, which is reimbursement for the expenses we incur to provide the service. The money that we have yet to receive, but we have earned. This is our accounts receivable line. This is the money that we have billed, we have earned, and we are due to receive, is $84,101, bringing a total amount of earned income of $165,260 for 6 months. My initial proposal, I based our revenue projections on $250 a transport for 700 transports, bringing the estimated revenue for 1 year at $175. So in 6 months, we've almost attained my initial projection for the entire year. The breakdown of our EMS service, we have a total EMS calls of 448. Of those 448, Winslow Fire and Rescue Department transported 298 of those people we responded to. Of those 298, we requested assistance from Delta Ambulance for 18 paramedic intercepts. Part of my original proposal was to let the council know that we could implement this program with the staffing and the level of licensure that we currently have. And in the event that a paramedic was needed, we could request mutual aid, and that's what that 18 represents. The mutual aid received is 24. That represents the number of times that the ambulance was either out of service due to repairs or that we are already predisposed on another emergency incident. Most likely and more often than not, it's because we were on another EMS call and we needed to get mutual aid. So the system as proposed is working and has been working, and it is really refreshing to be able to put my numbers, actual facts and data on the street and let people see that we are being successful. We're bringing money into this town that would not have been here had we not started transporting. This direct call to mutual aid, there's still some bugs to work out. There have been 5 calls directly to our mutual aid partners, but those things are being worked out and the 911 system is being utilized.
Ronnie, could you send us a copy of that?
Absolutely. I'll send you a copy of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yes, sir. So in conclusion, the level of service that we provided by the department has improved. The program has exceeded projected revenue estimates. For those that measure success in dollars and cents, the program has clearly demonstrated the ability to provide sufficient revenue to cover costs, but most importantly, the lives saved are the true measure of success for this program.
What are we charging, Ronnie, for transport?
Well, the council set the rates when we first implemented the program, so it depends on the level of care that we provide. But it is in keeping with the area and regional services what they charge. So we are not the lowest, we're not the highest, we're right in there, and we're very, I hate to use the word competitive, but we are within industry standards for what we charge.
But do you have a figure? What we're charging?
Well, I would have to look up what the council approved back in May or June.
Well, it was talked about at a 250 call startup, right?
So you're asking about what we charge or what we are earning?
No, what we're charging the people.
Ronnie, yes, sir. The billable amount depends on the level of care that we provide. But if you're asking what we are earning, based on what I estimated when I did the proposal during the ambulance workshops, I was using a figure of $250 a transport. And if you just take what we have had deposited in the bank, just what we've deposited in the bank, divided by the number of transports that Winslow Fire Department has transported, that gives us $272 a transport. However, if you take what we have earned of $165,260, divide that by 298, that's $554 a transport that we are earning. And this is money that we would not be receiving if we did not have that ambulance. So year to date, we have earned $165,000.
So basically, the people who are doing our billing for us, they're the ones that are billing out that, as you say, 500 and something per transport, and we're making the 250?
No, sir. They're billing the contract rate that we have contracted with Medicare and Medicaid.
Okay.
And what we are receiving, because there are negotiated adjustments that Medicare and Medicaid have taken into account, that brings us down to the average of the $554 per transport that we have to date. So if you were to take what we have earned to date for 6 months and extrapolate that out to 12, we're over $300,000 in receipts that we can put in our bank after 12 months.
Yeah, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I got a question for the chief.
Yep, go ahead, Billy.
Based on the 6 months figures, chief, could you tell me roughly what the percentage is of non-paying percentage for the total bill?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I talked to the our billing company about that, and it's roughly 10%. I want to say 10% that we can expect non-payment from.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Ben, for the questions. Any other further questions for the chief? Oh, wait a minute. I think I'm muted. Any other further questions for the chief?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
Chief, out of the 84,000 in accounts receivable, how far out are they? How many days out are those? Do we have any over 90 days?
Yeah, I know. I understand. That's a great question. I don't know the aged accounts receivable for the 84,000.
Okay. Because maybe that's something we ought to have. Who's doing our billing on this?
Medical reimbursement services. They're out of Wyndham.
Okay. Maybe that's a good question for them and to get, how far out some of these bills are. Do they do collections as well or not?
Absolutely not.
No.
No,
Okay.
That was part of my proposal in the beginning. I am not interested in becoming a collection agency and burdening anybody. This was proposed because there is a system decline. It's a systemic problem for EMS delivery in this region. And I don't want anybody to hesitate at all in calling 911 out of fear of how are we going to pay to get to the hospital. That was never my intent. And I have emphasized that over and over again. No, I'm not interested in becoming a collection service.
So we're not going after the non-pays then, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
So who is going to be responsible for the non-paying accounts?
They'll be written off, Peter.
Yeah, we write them off.
And you're estimating that there's only going to be a 10% non-pay?
I'm not estimating. That is historically what we have in our payer mix in our region is 10%. 65% of our residents are Medicare paying.
65%?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With approximately 15%, 10 to 15% that are private insurance, which leaves another 10 or so percent that is self-pay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other further questions for Ronnie?
Yeah, Ray, if I could just make a comment. And I know that the chief's well aware that he has my full backing in what he's doing. I fully support his program. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. But one of the things I want to emphasize for people that have questions about how this program is working and are the numbers being spun, most of the costs that we have associated with the ambulance, we were spending those anyway. It's not as though we didn't respond to EMS calls prior to getting an ambulance. We did. We still had the same personnel that we have now as far as full-time personnel. We still had the same medical supplies that we had to purchase and utilize when we got there. The biggest differences are, one, the waits for our residents were longer because the ambulance had to come from further away. And two, that we were sending that revenue stream out of town to a private entity. It was not coming into the town. So this is basically a win-win. It's a win for our residents in that they get quicker, more reliable service at times when people are quite frankly scared and in fear of their lives, or their families are in fear of what's going to happen to them. And on our end, we get to produce a revenue stream that means there are fewer taxpayer dollars that have to be invested in that fire and EMS infrastructure. So I just wanted to point that out because I think a lot of people are under the impression that when we talk about ambulance costs, that we are talking all new expenditure, and we are not. There's a pretty big difference between soft costs and hard costs. The ambulance itself is a hard cost. Yes, we had to purchase one. And if we go ahead with the second one, which I think you need to in the long run to make this system completely viable, that will be a hard cost. But it's a recoverable cost based on the revenue projections that we're getting right now and what we've actually seen for receipts. Everything else Our personnel, our supplies, that stays the same as it always has been, other than cost of living increases. We haven't added on any personnel. And the reason that we haven't had to is because we're utilizing those per diem paramedic employees. They are not cheap, but it's certainly cheaper than hiring 4 full-time staff to whom we would have to pay benefits, and you'd have to pay them 40 hours whether we have the calls or not. I hope that kind of resonates with people. I just want to point that out because as a numbers person, I understand how numbers can be, they can be made to represent a lot of different things, but at the core, the system is doing exactly what Chief Rodriguez set out to make it do. And we are realizing a benefit from that, both financially and in terms of service to our citizens.
And I need to point out, I need to emphasize the fact that we do have an aged population, and the needs are, our call volume is going up. And just last week, there were multiple times where our ambulance was back to back to back to back. And not just our ambulance, but our neighbors across the river. There was no other ambulance available within Winslow, Waterville area, except for ours. So, and this is the problem that is being addressed through Maine EMS. I attend the Maine EMS Labor Workforce Committee just so I can be involved and understand that this is a system problem that is facing Maine. And by us having this service, it is helping to alleviate the stress of the service within Central Maine. We're doing a good thing, and my projections were significantly underestimated at $250 a transport.
And if I might add to the chief too, you're doing exactly what the council and the past councils have asked you to do. You're doing it with the efficiency and under circumstances that I don't think anybody could foresee with the COVID and all those things going on. And I will mention is the second ambulance. If you look at the response times, if you're going to run an ambulance service, you need a little bit of redundancy in the process. And that second ambulance is a needed redundancy. If
Yes,
we're
sir.
going into this situation, then we need the redundancy of the second ambulance because that's what we do now. And having just one ambulance puts us, in my opinion, in the jeopardy to rely on mutual aid that sometime might be there or sometime might not be there. So that second ambulance, I think, is a critical, and I think it's not something that we can wait any extended period of time for. Is that, within the next couple months, we really have to step on the gas pedal to further that cause for a second ambulance.
I mean, if I may, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the expenditures that we incurred to get it up and going at $90,000, I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but it's roughly $90,012. We already have $81,000 in deposits. So we are right on target with breaking, I hate to use the word breaking even, but for recovering the costs that we've already invested in this service, and with another 84,000 outstanding, and it's an ongoing thing. So this is a $25,000 a month on average income stream that will be coming into the fire department that will help offset the costs, so we can set this money aside for future capital expenditures. You got to remember, we have a 25-year-old tanker out there. These are things that I inherited, and in the short time that I've been here, I've tried to turn things around to put us on a sustainable path so that we can provide the service of emergency services to this town. And it's just good to know, it's just good to be able to present to you after 6 months that it's working, that what I said is true and it's working.
We'll be talking about, I'm sure we'll be gearing up for that second ambulance conversation, if not February, then March at the very latest as initial. That's my belief, that we have to do that just sooner than later. It should have been
I
done.
appreciate your confidence and support, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any other questions? Erica, would you like any closing comments on the presentation or anything like that?
Now, I appreciate the chief taking the time to do that. I asked him to put together something that was more visual in nature than just numbers on a page, and he did a great job with it. You know, I think that we all recognize that you don't go into something half-heartedly on an endeavor like this. And right now, we've only accomplished half of the goal. We've got a service, it's working, but it's not sustainable without that second ambulance. So we either do this and we do it right, or we shouldn't be in the business. And I know that's kind of a all or nothing attitude, but I feel that it's the truth. I just kudos to the chief for getting this set up in the first place.
Yep, very nice. Any other further question? If there is no further questions.
Are we gonna go into the Orion, but we're gonna do that under executive?
We're going to do that under executive session, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, that's good. If now executive session, I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection 841 2E, poverty abatement discussion and Orion rope negotiation discussions. We're going to have to all get out of this meeting and come on to the executive session Zoom meeting. So at this point in time, everybody can leave, please. Thank you very much.